यशोदानन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना यमुनतीरावनचारी यमुनतीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद अभय चरण अरविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत गोस्वामी ठाकुर श्री प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वृंद की नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की हो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की श्री वृंदावन धाम की नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जगन्नाथपुरी की गंगा मई की यमुना मई की भक्ति देवी की तुलसी देवी की समवेता भक्त वृंद की taking all the word of Sri Prabhupada, strengths and book distribution key. Prabhupada's Saigon Ashram Farm Communities key. Okay. So we're going to be reading today. So who's in charge of the live stream and all that? Is it Charu and them guys?
It's streaming now.
Okay. So usually we keep a spotlight on or we pin the speaker, right? Can you do that, Charu?
He looks determined.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure you can figure this one out. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 15, text number 44. Te Vai Amushya Vadana Asitam Padma Kosham Udvikshya Sundara Tara Adhara Kunda Hasam Labdha Ashishaha Punaha Avekshya Tadiyam Angri Dvandvam Nakha Aruna Mani Shayanam Nidadyuhu. So Deva Amushya Padmakosham Udviksha Sundara Taradhara Kundahasam Labdha Shishah Punar Avekshya Tadiyamangri Dvandvam Nakharunamani Shayanam Nidadyuhu. Both of you could unmute your mic so that way we can hear you repeat. Deva Amushya Vadanasita Padmakosham Udviksha Sundara Taradhara Kundahasam Labdha Shisha Punaraveksha Tadiyamangri Dvandvam Nakharunamani Shayanam Nidadyuhu. Devamushavadanasit padmakosham
Devamushavadanasit-padmakosham
Udviksha sundaratarathara kundahasam
Udvisha-sundaratara-taradhara-kundahasam
Labdha shishaf punaraveksha tadiyamanghi
Dashisha-sundaratara-taradhara-kundahasam
Dvandvam nakharunamani shayanam nidadyuhu
Bandvam nakharunamani-shayanam nidadhyu
Deva amushavadanasit padmakosham
Devamushavadanasit-padmakosham
Udviksha sundaratarathara kundahasam
Udviksha-sundaratara-taradhara-kundahasam
Labdha shishaf punaraveksha tadiyamanghi
Labdhashtam punaravekshatadiyamangri
Dvandvam nakharunamani shayanam nidadyuhu.
Dvandvam nakharunamani-shayanam nidadhyu
Please repeat.
Devamushavadanasit-padmakosham
Devamushavadhanasita padmakosham
Udviksha-sundaratara-taradhara-kundahasam
Udviksha
Udvikshasundaratarādhara-kundahasam
sundaratarathara
Labdha-shisha-punavekshatadiyamangri
punaravekshatiyam
Labdhashisha-punaravekshatadiyamangri
angri
Dvandvam nakarunamani-shayanam nidadhyu
Dvandvam
Dvam
nakharunamani-shayanam
nakarunamani
nidadhyu
nidadyuhu
Devamushavadanasit-padmakosham
Devamushavadhanasita padmakosham
Udvikshasundaratarādhara-kundahasam
Udviksha sundaratarathara kundahasam
Labdhashisha-punaravekshatadiyamangri
Labdha shishaf punaravekshatiyam angri
Dvandvam nakharunamani-shayanam nidadhyuhu
Dvandvam nakarunamani shayanam nidadyuhu
Eva amushyavadanasikta padmakosham
Deva mushavadhanasita
Devamushavadanasit-padmakosham
padmakosham
Utviksha sundara taradhara kundahasam
Udviksha sundaratarathara
Udvikshasundaratarādhara-kundahasam
Labdha sheshak punaravekshatadiyam angri
Labdha shishaf punaravekshatiyam angri
Labdhashisha-punaravekshatadiyamangri
Dvandvam nakharunamani swayanam nidatyuhu
Dvandvam nakarunamani shayanam
Dvandvam-nakarunamani-shayanam-nidadyuhu.
nidadyuhu. Okay, te those sages.
Those pages.
Why?
Vai,
Certainly.
certainly.
Namushya,
Musha
of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Vadana,
Vadana,
face.
vase,
Asita,
asita,
blue.
blue,
Padma,
padma,
lotus.
lotus.
Kosham,
Ocean,
inside.
inside.
Udviksha,
Diksha,
after looking up.
after looking up.
Sundaratara,
Daratara,
more beautiful.
more beautiful.
Adhara,
Adhara,
lips.
lips.
Kunda,
Kunda,
jasmine flower.
jasmine flower.
Asam,
Asam,
smiling.
smiling.
Labdha,
Labdha,
achieved.
achieved.
Ashishaha,
Ashishaha,
aims of life.
aims of life.
Punaha,
Aha,
again.
again.
Avikshya,
Aviksha,
looking down.
looking down.
Tadiyam,
Iyam,
his.
his.
Angri dvandvam,
Angri Dvandvam,
pair of lotus feet.
hair of lotus feet.
Nakha,
Naka,
nails.
nails.
Aruna,
Aruna,
red.
red.
Mani,
Mani,
rubies.
rubies.
Shayanam,
Sharanam,
shelter.
shelter.
Nidadyuhu,
Nidadhihu,
meditated.
meditated.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai Prabhupada.
The Lord's beautiful face appeared to them like the inside of a blue lotus, and the Lord's smile appeared to be a blossoming jasmine flower. After seeing the face of the Lord, the sages were fully satisfied, and when they wanted to see him further, they looked upon the nails of his lotus feet, which resemble rubies. Right? You can see that, right? Both of you can see those.
Yeah.
So beautiful. Thus, they viewed the Lord's transcendental body again and again, And so they finally achieve meditation on the Lord's personal feature. Verse number 45. Right? Pumsam gatim mriga yatam iha yoga margay dhanyaspadam bahumatam nayana viramam Pamshnam vapur darshayanam ananya siddhair outpattikai samagrinan yutam ashtabhogaihi. This is the form of the Lord which is meditated upon by the followers of the yoga process, and it is pleasing to the yogis in meditation. It is not imaginary but factual as proved by great yogis. The Lord is full in 8 kinds of achievement. For others, these achievements are not possible in full perfection. Purport. The success of the yoga, this is a long purport. It's a really, really long purport. Okay, it's like all the way down. So, yeah, who is, whoever is that you, Charu? You could share the screen and show the purport on the screen for devotees to see. Are you
On the live stream.
on the live stream?
We're reading it.
No, if you're streaming it live.
I see.
Okay. So, purport. Okay. The success of the yoga process is very nicely described here. It specifically is mentioned that the form of the Lord as four-handed Narayana is the object of meditation for the followers of the Yoga Marga. In the modern age, there are many so-called yogis who do not target their meditation on the four-handed Narayana form. Some of them try to meditate on something impersonal or void, but that is not approved by the great yogis who follow the standard method. The real yoga marga process is to control the senses, sit in a solitary place and sanctified place, and meditate on the four-handed form of Lord Narayana, decorated as described in this chapter as he appeared before the 4 sages. This Narayana form is Krishna's expansion. Therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement, which is now spreading, is the real topmost practice of yoga, topmost process of yoga practice. Krishna consciousness is the highest yoga performance by trained devotional yogis. Despite all the allurement of yoga practice, the 8 kinds of yogic perfections are hardly achievable by the common man. But here it is described that the Lord who appeared before the 4 sages is himself in full of all 8 of those perfections. The highest yoga marga process is to concentrate the mind 24 hours a day on Krishna. Here is called Krishna consciousness. The yoga system, as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, or as recommended in the Patanjali yoga process, is different from the nowadays practiced Hatha yoga as it is generally understood in the Western countries. Real yoga practice is to control the senses, and after such control is established, to concentrate the mind on the Narayana form of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, and all of the Vishnu forms with 4 hands decorated with conch, lotus, club, and wheel are plenary expansions of Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is recommended that one meditate upon the form of the Lord to practice concentration of the mind. One has to sit with the head and the back in a straight line, and one must practice it in a secluded place sanctified by a sacred atmosphere. The yogi should observe the rules of and regulations of brahmacharya to strictly live a life of self-restraint and celibacy. One cannot practice yoga in a congested city, living a life of extravagancy, including unrestricted sex indulgence and adultery of the tongue. Charu, you can scroll it down, right? Where the purport is, Charu? Scroll down, so people can read what we're reading. That's the whole point, right? You could please scroll down. Yoga practice necessitates controlling the senses, and the beginning of sense control is to control the tongue. One who can control the tongue can also have control over other senses. One cannot allow the tongue to take all kinds of forbidden food and drink and at the same time advance in the practice of yoga. It is a very regrettable fact that many unauthorized so-called yogis come to the Western countries and exploit people's inclination toward yoga practice. Such unauthorized yogis even dare to say publicly that one can indulge in the habit of drinking and at the same time practice meditation. 5,000 years ago, Lord Krishna recommended yoga practice to Arjuna, but Arjuna frankly expresses inability to follow the stringent rules and regulations of the yoga system. One should be very practical in every field of activities and should not waste his valuable time in practicing useless gymnastic feats in the name of yoga. Real yoga is to search out the four-handed supersoul within one's heart and see him perpetually in meditation. Such continued meditation is called samadhi, and the object of this meditation is a four-handed Narayana with bodily decorations as described in Srimad Bhagavatam. If, however, one wants to meditate upon something void or impersonal, it will take a very long time before he achieves success in yoga practice. We cannot concentrate our mind on something void or impersonal. Real yoga is to fix the mind on the form of the Lord, the four-handed Narayana, who is sitting in everyone's heart. By meditation, one can understand that God is seated within one's heart. Even if one does not know it, God is seated within the heart of everyone. Not only is he seated in the heart of everyone, the heart of the human being, but he is also within the hearts of the cats and dogs. Bhagavad Gita clarifies this fact by the declaration of the Lord, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hrideshe, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text number 61. The Ishvara, the supreme controller of the Lord, is seated in the heart of everyone. Not only is he in everyone's heart, but he is also present within the atom. No place is vacant or devoid of the presence of the Lord. That is the statement of the Ishopanishad. God is present everywhere, and his right of proprietorship applies to everything. The feature of the Lord which is present everywhere is called Paramatma. Atma means the individual soul, Paramatma means the individual supersoul. Both Atma and Paramatma are individual persons. The difference between Atma and Paramatma is that the Atma or the soul is present only in a particular body, whereas Paramatma is present everywhere. In this connection, the example of the sun is very nice. An individual person may be situated in one place, but the sun, even though a similar individual entity, is present on the head of every individual person. In Bhagavad Gita, this is explained. Therefore, even though the qualities of all entities, including the Lord, are equal, the super soul is different from the individual soul by quantitative power of expansion. The Lord or the super soul can expand himself into millions of different forms, as the individual soul cannot do so. The super soul, being seated in everyone's heart, can witness everyone's activities, past, present, and future. In the Upanishads, the super soul is described as being seated with the individual soul as friend and witness. As a friend, the Lord is always anxious to get back his friend, the individual soul, and bring him back to Godhead. As a witness, he is a bestower of all benedictions, and he endows each individual with the result of his actions. The super soul gives the individual soul all facilities to achieve whatever he desires to enjoy in this material world. Suffering is a reaction to the living entity's propensity to try to lord it over the material nature. But the Lord instructs his friend, the individual soul, who is also his son, to give up all other engagements and simply surrender unto him for perpetual bliss and an eternal life of full knowledge. This is the last instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, the most authorized and widely read book on all varieties of yoga. Thus, the last word of the Bhagavad Gita is the last word in the perfection of yoga. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that a person who's always absorbed in Krishna consciousness is the topmost yogi. What is Krishna consciousness? As the individual soul is present by his consciousness throughout the entire body, so the super soul of Paramatma is present throughout the whole creation by super consciousness. This superconscious energy is imitated by the individual soul who has limited consciousness. I can understand what is going on within my limited body, but I cannot feel what is going on in another's body. I am present throughout my body, but by my consciousness. But my consciousness is not present in another's body. The super soul of Paramatma, however, being present everywhere and within everyone, is also conscious of everyone's existence. The theory that the soul and the super soul are one is not acceptable because it is confirmed by authoritative Vedic literature. The individual soul's consciousness cannot act in super consciousness. This super consciousness can be achieved, however, by dovetailing individual consciousness with the consciousness of the Supreme. This dovetailing process is called surrender or Krishna consciousness. From the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, we learn very clearly that Arjuna did not want to fight with his brothers and relatives. But after understanding Bhagavad Gita, he dovetailed his consciousness with the super consciousness of Krishna. He was then in Krishna consciousness. A person in full Krishna consciousness acts by the dictation of Krishna. In the beginning of Krishna consciousness, dictation is received through the transparent medium of the spiritual master. One who is sufficiently trained and acts in submissive faith and love for Krishna under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master. The dovetailing process becomes more firm and accurate. This stage of devotional service by the devotee in Krishna consciousness is the most perfect stage of the yoga system. At this stage, Krishna or the super soul dictates from within, while from without, the devotee is helped by the spiritual master, who is the bona fide representative of Krishna. From within, he helps as Chaitya, for he is seated within the heart of everyone. Understanding that God is seated within everyone's heart is not, however, sufficient. One has to be acquainted with God from both within and without, and one must take dictation from within and without to act in Krishna consciousness. This is the highest perfectional stage of human form of life and the topmost perfection of all yoga. For a perfect yogi, there are 8 kinds of super achievements. One can become lighter than air. One can become smaller than the atom. One can become bigger than a mountain. One can achieve whatever he desires. One can control like the Lord, and so on. But when one rises to the perfectional stage of receiving dictation from the Lord, that is greater than any stage of material achievements above mentioned. The breathing exercise or yoga system, which is generally practiced, is just the beginning. Meditation on the super soul is just another step. But to obtain direct contact with the super soul and to take dictation from him is the highest perfectional stage. The breathing exercises of meditation practice were very difficult even 5,000 years ago. Otherwise, Arjuna would not have rejected the proposal of Krishna that he adopt the system. This age of Kali is called the fallen age. In this age, people in general are short-lived and very slow to understand self-realization of spiritual life. They are mostly unfortunate, and therefore, if someone is a little bit interested in self-realization, he is like to be misguided by so many frauds. The only way to realize the perfect stage of yoga is to follow the principles of Bhagavad Gita as practiced by Lord Chaitanya. This is the simplest and highest perfection of yoga practice. Lord Chaitanya demonstrated this Krishna consciousness yoga system in a practical manner by chanting the holy name of Krishna as described in the Vedanta, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and many important Puranas. The largest number of Indians follow this yoga process, and in the United States, it is gradually spreading in many cities. It is very easy and practical for this age, especially for those who are serious about success in yoga. No other process of yoga can be successful in this age. The meditation process was possible in the golden age, Satya Yuga, because people in that age used to live for hundreds of thousands of years. If one wants success in practical yoga practice, it is advised that he take to the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And he will actually feel himself making progress. In Bhagavad Gita, this practice of Krishna consciousness is prescribed as Raja Vidya, or the king of all erudition. Those who have taken to this most sublime bhakti yoga system, who practice devotional service in transcendental love of Krishna, can testify to its happy and easy execution. The 4 sages, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sananda, and Sanat Kumar, also became attracted by the features of the Lord and the transcendental aroma of the dust of his lotus feet, as already described in verse 43. Yoga necessitates controlling the senses, and bhakti yoga or Krishna consciousness is a process of purifying the senses. When the senses are purified, they are automatically controlled. One cannot stop the activities of the senses by artificial means. But if one purifies the senses by engaging them in the service of the Lord, not only can not only can be controlled from rubbish engagement, but can be engaged in the Lord's transcendental service as aspired by the four sages Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana, and Sanat Kumar. Krishna consciousness is not, therefore, a manufactured concoction of the speculative mind. It is a process enjoined in the Bhagavad Gita. Manmanabhava madbhakto madhya jimam namaskuru. 934 and 1865. So this is an exceptionally long purport. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadam Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shruta Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagan Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karana Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyasya Kripasindubhya Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swamiti Namine Hari Janagana Bhari Gnana Karmanda Hari Prakritita Parabhakti Bhakti Siddhanta Kanti Vinay Nikara Lakshmi Nimna Mede Ragamyo Bhuvijayati Vikaso Bhakti Purvo Yatindraha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे आगीशा यस्य वदने लक्ष्मीर्यस्य च वक्षसि यस्यास्य हृदये संवित् तं नृसिंहम् अहं भजे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखं करति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयति गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानंद माधवं श्री चैतन्य ईश्वरं कृतवान् अखिल कर्माणि सह रामेण केशव अतिमर्त्यानि भगवान् गूढ़ कपट मानुषः. Okay, so Chandan Acharya Prabhu, this is a very long purport. So and so do you think maybe every speaker could go over 2 paragraphs, or like should we just
Yeah, we can do like that. I think that's a good idea.
yeah, because it's there's a lot, and also
Yeah.
the verse before that, although it doesn't have a purport, is like pretty
Yeah, if you
amazing.
want. Oh, it doesn't have a purport in the other
Yeah,
one.
yeah. So I want to know until when is the class supposed
Generally,
to?
we go till 8:30 because it's 9:30 for Atlanta devotees, and then they're gotta take breakfast and all that. So generally, it's
Okay,
in the
so
morning.
I should speak for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, 25 minutes. And then we can have little questions and answers at 8:30
Okay.
or 9:30 your time.
Okay, so I start speaking at 9:30, and then there'll
We'll
be
have a little bit of question in like 10 minutes. Yeah, 5-10 minutes.
okay. So the verse before this one, which was discussed, is an extremely beautiful verse, and I'm very grateful for Chandanacharya Prabhu for giving me a chance to speak about this, because I think at least so many times I've mentioned this Dvandvam Nakaruna Mani, that the lotus feet of the toenails of the Supreme Lord look like rubies, right? It's described here. They look upon the nails of the lotus feet, which resemble rubies. Yeah, like that. Those ones exactly. Yeah, those. So many times we've discussed and spoken about. So the sages now they're seeing the Lord's beautiful face, which is also known as Mukharavinda. The beautiful transcendental smiling face of the Lord is very exceptional, and it takes the mind away of any person who's actually meditating and contemplating upon the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and even the smile of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we see, now we're in chapter number 15 in the third canto, but then if we go further on, we're entering the 28th chapter all the way to the end of the third canto, the Srimad Bhagavatam. There's many heavy things described. And of course, the one of the heaviest things is that we've said this so many times, that this material world is an ocean of misery comprised of the tears of the fallen conditioned souls. But the verse right after that, it says that just by seeing this beautiful transcendental smile of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just by seeing the beautiful transcendental smile of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that entire ocean of misery is evaporated. So that's very amazing. The smile of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so amazing. So the ultimate goal of life is that one must learn how we can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Hare Krishna, I'm so sorry. Is there a way to turn your AI centering off, because it keeps moving your camera?
I see. How
I don't even know what that is.
Shantanu set that up.
What is that? How do you do it? Is it
I didn't want to disturb the thing, but I thought devotees might find that a little distracting, just that the camera keeps like zooming in and out. And
do you know
Yeah.
where it is?
it's a really, I feel old when I like look when I have to like
So I felt trying to share the screen.
Mhm.
anyways, okay, maybe we'll have to work that out in the next one. Just
I think I can figure it out here.
it must be under video. And then yeah. So if you go into video and like that little thing, it says auto frame my video, you have to take that off.
That's in like the main settings of the.
Yeah, I guess it will be in the main settings too, but that it's in the video settings, and then you just gotta. Yeah, and then go to appearance and then turn off auto framing.
So background and effects, is that where we go?
No, appearance. Next to there's a one called appearance. I don't know. Are you on the iPad?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just turn that on. So,
Always should be.
Appearance, like in the main settings hub.
yeah.
So you have to go back to the home.
Oh, I see. Okay. What you do it?
Sorry, I'm.
No.
Scientific advancement.
Yeah, video and effects. I don't think it's that.
So
Okay. Don't worry about it if it's like too much, because just do it for the next one, I guess. Just because.
okay.
All right,
Yeah,
I'll
it's
take-
yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking. I thought like maybe I'm moving, but it's there. Like I was stripping out myself.
I think it might be simple, but it might be more complicated. Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem. Okay, I'm just going to give it one more try. Okay. Anyway, maybe that'll help. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, so the beautiful transcendental smile of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's very captivating and very enchanting, and all the entire there's so many ways, so many verses speak about the beautiful transcendental form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and how when one meditates upon it, actually what it does, it gives the mind extreme pleasure. In this regard, there's a verse, Sarasija Nayanesa Shanka Chakre Mura Bidima Chittarantum Sukatarama Paramna Jatu Jane Haricharana Swaranam Ritena Atulyam. Then I always contemplate and meditate upon the beautiful transcendental form, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is soft like a lotus. And it says in that verse that there is no greater pleasure, that if you actually meditate upon that beautiful lotus reddish feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it's described that it gives the mind extreme pleasure. Right? If you want to experience extreme pleasure, you can perfect your meditation upon the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's very, very amazing. So we see that in the next purport, Srila Prabhupada is speaking about what the ultimate aim of the yoga practice is. The ultimate aim of the yoga practice is that a person must learn to see the super soul within their heart. That is the whole point. That's why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Of all the yogis, who's the topmost? Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmanaha shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamomataha. Of all the yogis, the topmost yogi is a person who has, who's constantly seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his heart. So that's a very important point, that when people out here are trying their level best to do yoga like this and yoga like that, and nowadays so many yogas are coming out. I remember once we were setting up in Union Square Park in New York, and then right next to us, someone set up another tent and called it beer yoga. Yoga with beer. This is so insane. It's ridiculous, right? And what are they targeting everything at? These so-called yogis, all of them, they're targeting everything they're doing at sense gratification, somehow or the other. And that's why we were listening to this interview that Bhakti Vikas Maharaj did with the Prachyam guy, just recently. Why I left Christianity for Krishna. In that, he's mentioning this point that Rajiv Malhotra was making, that now the West has also digested Indian spirituality. I don't know if y'all caught that, but he was making this point that the West has also digested Indian spirituality, and what that means, or Eastern, or the spirituality from the Vedas, what that means is that they have taken what they nicely can for their sense gratification, and they left out the very core and the very essence of it. Right? So many people who practice yoga, they don't even accept the fact of reincarnation. They don't even accept such simple facts. They don't accept the fact of yama, niyama, none of these things. So they finally got it down to a few gymnastic feats, which if you do properly, then you'll have a very healthy body to enjoy better sex life. That's the whole point, right? You can last longer in bed. You could do so many things, right? If you're a good yogi, if you know how to do yoga properly, all these things are taught. How you can increase your sense gratification, how you can increase how you ultimately look. And you can see that so many people nowadays, they are trying to do what does Prabhupada say over here? Yeah, he says, but here is this right. Okay. Yeah, there you go. He says that all these Bhagavad Gita was described in the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and the process recommended by Patanjali is different from nowadays practice Hatha Yoga as is generally understood in the Western countries. Right? We must first learn to control our senses. That's the whole point. But if he, but the yogi, if he's unable to do this, then what ends up happening is that they don't get anything. What do they end up getting is they simply end up being born as a tree in their next life, because they like to be naked so much. They like to do all this yoga. Why? So they can enjoy sex life more. So we can see the whole purpose of yoga. The first step in practicing yoga is one must learn to control the mind. If we don't learn to control our mind, then when the whole point is that you're performing all these asanas and dharanas and all this. Why? So you can finally remember, you can smarana, you can remember the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of God. You can focus upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead being in the heart. If you look further on in the Bhagavatam, is described how the yogi is finally meditating upon the Supreme Lord in the heart. And then one aspect of his meditation is that he's meditating upon each spoke of the Sudarshan Chakra. Right? He's meditating how the Supreme Lord is present in his heart, and he's holding the Sudarshan Chakra in one of his hand. And the beauty of each of the spoke of each spoke of the Sudarshan Chakra, he's constantly contemplating and meditating upon that. Right? Imagine you reach at such a level of perfection that you're able to see it, and you're going over every spoke of the Sudarshan Chakra. That's going to take you a long time. How much attention does that take you? Right? And what do yogis do for recreation? Baldev Vidyabhushan tells us this. What do the yogis do for recreation? The thing the yogis do for recreation is they walk. That's what the yogis do for recreation. You're sitting, meditating. Oh, you know what? Let me have some enjoyment. And what's that enjoyment? Is to walk. The recreation of the yogis is to walk. I remember reading that some time ago. So we can say that how much, if you imagine if walking is your sense gratification, how sense controlled should you actually be, right, to perform this process of yoga that's being described. But nowadays, no, it's all okay, we're performing yoga. But then you tell me frankly, especially if we're talking to the jivas and male bodies right now, you tell me frankly, if you're doing so-called yoga and next to you is like a hot, sweaty girl with tight clothes also stretching her body, will you be able to focus your mind? Realistically, come on, just be honest. No way. No way. Why? The senses are so strong. Indriyani pramatini, right? Even the Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 260, he says, Indriyani pramatini, that even for a vidwan, even for a learned scholar, the senses can attack them. So what to speak of fallen Kali Yuga rejects who have completely taken out every aspect of spirituality or every aspect of sense control and whatsoever from the practice of yoga, and they just leave it to do some few gymnastic feats? How will this ever happen? That's why there is this really awesome article written by Dhanavir Maharaj. It's called The Process of Yoga. You know which one I'm talking about, Rishi?
Yoga Mart.
Yoga what? Yoga what?
Mart, like Kmart or.
Oh, Yoga Mart. Yeah, Yoga Mart. That article, do you have it handy? Do you think you could send it to me?
Yeah, I'll try.
Yeah. This article, Yoga Mart, that Maharaj wrote, he is completely smashing and annihilating and destroying this so-called bogus yoga, which is going on these days. He's in one part he's quoting Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada was saying it's actually a very nice idea to have yoga classes. We should bring all the people to our center and make them do yoga classes. And what's the yoga class? The yoga class is you attend Mangal Arati, you sit down and you chant 16 rounds without getting up. You hear Bhagavad Gita, and then you take prasadam. And that's the yoga class that Prabhupada is recommending. Did you send it to me?
Yes.
Okay. So this is really awesome. It's a really and when I first got it, I sent it to anyway, I'm not going to say who it was, but I sent it to someone and they're like, oh well, but that's usually what they say. But it's on Dandavats too. And then I like the other one where he suggests that some sannyasi should join the Bhakta program, but that's for later. Okay. So from this from Dhanavir Goswami, all glory to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. I am of the opinion that the recent upsurge in gymnastic and meditational yoga related courses being offered within ISKCON, for the most part, compromises the mission of the organization. Here are some reasons. Gymnastic and he gives like 15, he gives like about 15 reasons. I'll just pick my favorite. He says, he said, okay, such courses deceptively present their teachings as authentic aids to spiritual advancement. Such courses and their teachers' credentials stem from impersonalistic lineage, right? We see that so many people, we want to do Iyengar yoga, we want to do this, but ultimately they are actually, it's very dangerous actually. Why? Because their whole philosophy, everything is stemming from this impersonal features. Then it says, yeah, there you go. This point is so okay. Such courses facilitate inappropriate intermingling of males and females. Hmm? Then such courses emphasize the gross bodily conception by promising sense gratification and mundane success to practitioners. You'll be a great success. Do my yoga program. Such courses beguile people from the path of pure bhakti, even if unintentionally. Such courses misuse of popularity and resources of ISKCON. So then Maharaj is talking about ISKCON specifically. So then, so now look at this. This is the purport from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 7, text number 14. Even if one does not accept Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his instructions are so exalted and beneficial for humanity that if one follows his instructions, one will be saved. Otherwise, one will be cheated by unauthorized meditation of gymnastic methods of yoga. Thus, one will board a boat of stone and will sink and drown all its passengers. Unfortunately, the American people are extremely eager to get out of the materialistic chaos. They are sometimes found to patronize the makers of the stone boat that will not help them. Right? And there's so many more quotes that Maharaj is keeping. Okay, now this is point number 5. This is from a conversation. Today, one can find some awfully bizarre activities going on in the name of yoga classes. A concerned observer pointed out that if such so-called yoga courses continue to proliferate, the society as it was by Srila Prabhupada will be unrecognizable in few years from now. And then there's a quote from the teachings of Lord Kapila, purport 14. When we have a super excellent process already present in Vedic scriptures, there is no need to concoct a new system to mislead the innocent public. At present, it has become a fashion to reject the standard system and present something bogus in the name of a newly invented process of yoga. So anyway, this article is really awesome, and I think Vishi Kumar Prabhu, if you could post it on Ashram Comps, you'll do everyone a huge favor. But we see that the whole purpose is how one can uh, understand the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in their heart. That is the real yoga system. Why? Because when you practice this yoga process, then what do you understand? You understand that the Super Soul Paramatma is guiding the Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam, Hriddeshya Janatishthati, Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani Yantrarudani Maya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is directing the wanderings of all living entities everywhere. That is directly, and the living entities are simply a machine seated on living entities are seated on a machine made of material energy. Right? If you actually think about it, the only thing a living entity can do is that he can desire. Right? And the super soul is present within the heart, and he's Upadrashta Anumanta Cha. Right? Krishna explains this in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13. He explains Upadrashta and Anumanta Cha. He says that Krishna is the person who gives sanction, and he's also the witness. Upadrashta means he's a witness. Anumanta means he gives permission. So all we can do is desire, even to speak these words, even to say something, even to think something. We cannot control material energy like that. Only the controller of material energy can give us a sanction whether or not to do it. Right? And that's why the Brahma Samhita says, Eko Pyaso Rashitam Jagadanda Kotim Yachak Tirasi Jagadanda Chayadantaha. Andantarasya Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Is it right? This Paramatma is present in every atom of the universe, and he's also present within the space of those atoms, right? If there's two atoms and the space between those atoms, the Paramatma is present even over there. And it's described that the Paramatma is there in his feature of four-armed Vishnu, and there's a beautiful garland around him, and there's bees buzzing around those garlands in every atom and the space between those atoms, where the Paramatma is. So we cannot understand how the Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually everywhere, right? Uh, Listen to this. Dhyayanti ye Vishnum anantamavyayam hrit padma madhye satata vyavasthitam samahitanam satata bhaya pradam prayati Vishnu paramam padam tat. That a devotee, he should remember this. Dhyayanti ye Vishnu anantamavyayam. We meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who is completely anantamavyayam. He's unlimited and he's there everywhere. Anantamavyayam. He's a great Supreme Lord who's holding the entire material creation together, but also he's Hrit Padma Madhye Satata Vyavasthitam. He's also present within the lotus of the heart of all living entities. Hrit Padma Madhye Satata Vyavasthitam. Samahitanam Satata Bhayapradam. But a person who is fully concentrating upon the beautiful transcendental form of the Supreme Personality of God within their heart, he awards them fearlessness. Samahitanam satata bhayapradam prayati Vishnu paramam padam tat. And by doing this, a person will realize the personal feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he will be able to go back home, back to Godhead. He will be able to go. I was listening to a lecture of Bhakti Vikas Maharaj yesterday, in Bhakti Vikas Maharaj was saying, Prabhupada trained us. Prabhupada trained us through his books and his lectures that while we're distributing books, we should pray to the Paramatma in the heart of the people that we're speaking to. Right? This is something that we've done many times. We've seen phenomenal results by doing this. Just praying to the Paramatma in the heart of the person that you're talking to, praying that, my dear Lord, you are Ishvara Sarvabhutanam. Somehow the other you've directed the wandering of this living entity toward me. Somehow the other you've directed this conversation in such a way that they're talking to me. Now, please use me as your instrument and inspire me to say words which will make you give them the permission to sacrifice their hard-earned wealth and buy a set of these books. We can think about it like that. We can meditate upon it like that. And how the super soul, Paramatma, is present in everyone's heart. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto, matya smritir jnanam apohanam cha, vedesha sarve ahameva vedyo, vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. Right? The super soul is present in everyone's heart. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto, present in the innermost recess of everyone's heart. And he can make them, and if you pray hard enough to the Paramatma in the heart of the other living entity, then he can cause them forgetfulness of their material desires, remembrance of the spiritual existence, and give them the knowledge that they are going to receive from us in the form of Prabhupada's books. All these three things can happen simultaneously. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always present. He's always present. And I remember this was probably 9 years ago. I was asking Bhakti Vikas Maharaj. I told him, Maharaj, so I didn't know, who my spiritual master is, but you came as a spiritual master. Said, yeah, spiritual master is the external manifestation of the Chaitya Guru. So yeah, it happens to me many times that sometimes someone is just praying to the deities to show the spiritual master, and then I just happen to walk by there, or then so many things like this happen. And yeah, the Supreme Lord can use the spiritual master as an instrument, and then he just said that, and he just he just smiled, grinned ear to ear. When the spiritual master appears, why? And Chaitya Guru, he he's appearing externally as a spiritual master, internally as a spiritual master of the heart. And sometimes devotees, before they can find their spiritual master and they're looking, sometimes they can hear the voice of the Paramatma. The voice of the Paramatma is the voice of the is the voice of the spiritual master. Shamsundar Prabhu was quoting in one lecture. He was listening and he was thinking, that he's performing all these activities and he's unable to focus fully on his japa or whatever, but he was constantly listening to Prabhupada's lectures while he was performing the service. And he's wondering, how is it that I'm still feeling the presence of Srila Prabhupada? And Prabhupada in that lecture, I'm digging the Veda base to find this quote, but apparently probably I'm paraphrasing it wrong, but Prabhupada in that lecture says, the voice of the spiritual master is Krishna talking to you. Prabhupada says that. The voice of the spiritual master is Krishna talking to you. So when we're connected with Shabda Brahman coming from the lotus mouth of a spiritual master, then we'll be happy. Then we're associating with Krishna. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogataha bhagavad tattva vijnana mukta sangha sujayate. So to hear Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam from a Bhagavad Tattva Vijnani is the voice of the spiritual master talking to you. To hear this full Bhagavad Tattva, full realization of this knowledge, Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam, from a person who's realized this person. That is the bliss. That is the ultimate thing. So anyway, so many more things can be said here, and but we'll have to stop the class. So if there's any questions or comments or protests or something, we could take them now.
Can I make a small comment?
Please.
A little bit far out, but just because it's like what's in it's specifically mentioned in this verse. It was speaking on Srila Prabhupada, and also just in the Bhagavatam was speaking on the lotus feet of the Lord, and his nails looking like rubies. And then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada was saying, if one chants Hare Krishna, they can feel themselves making advancement in Krishna consciousness. And you had mentioned a similar point too. So just one small comment. I was working on this picture yesterday for this project that I was doing. And And for the picture, I'm trying to make a nice image of the Lord's lotus feet. And so, get the toenails looking just like rubies. They're very bluish, like the monsoon cloud, and the bottoms of his feet are reddish. And I'm like zooming into the picture on the computer to make sure it all looks right. And there's like a nice smooth texture. I was surprised, like, oh wow, this is very detailed. And I'm looking at it, and then I was thinking, wow, this is like really satisfying.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's like some small reflection of what, like, a devotee is like feeling if they see, like, a really nice image of the Lord's lotus feet or something like that. But I'm just looking at it, I was just like so surprised. I was like, what in the world? Like, this is, I've looked at a screen many times. I've looked at pictures on a screen many times, but now I'm looking at, at the same screen, but this image is here, and it feels really satisfying, So it was, yeah, I just thought, I was thinking about that in relation.
Yeah, the yogis in the previous ages used to meditate upon the Lord in their heart. Rishi Kumar Prabhu's meditating upon the Lord in his computer.
And
And the more you work on it, the Lord is manifesting himself more and more to you.
wow. I was thinking, and I was looking at it like, oh, this is actually what people are supposed to be, thinking of. Actually, this is what I'm supposed to be thinking of, often, is the lotus feet of the Lord, which I don't do. But now I'm looking at the picture, and it's like satisfying. I'm thinking, why don't I think of that more often? The Lord's
Yeah.
lotus.
Yeah, there's this really awesome verse. Yasya priyo shruti dharo kavilo kaviro mitro dvijanma vara padma sarava bhutam tenam bujashi chiranam budashat padena ragnya kritakritiriyam kulashekarena. That Yasya priyo shruti dharo kavilo kaviro. Right? We offer our obeisances to those devotees who are, who are very expert and learned in glorifying the Supreme Lord. And Mitro Dvijanma Varapadma Charava Bhuta. And this is the point. Tenam Bujakshacharanambuda Shatpadena. That Kulashekar Alvar is calling himself and he's glorifying his two Brahmana friends. He's saying, Tenam Bujakshacharanambuda Shatpadena. So who is Kulashekar Alvar? Right? He's saying Kulashekar Alvar is no one but a bee who's tasting the nectar of the lotus, of serving the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's a bee who's always buzzing around the beautiful transcendent lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And just like the bee collects nectar and he makes it into honey by taking it to a beehive, similarly, great devotees like Srila Prabhupada, Kulashekar Alvar, they collect the nectar of serving the law of the Lord's lotus feet, and they give us this beautiful honey in the form of their teachings and their realizations. So we can see that you are bringing that nectar of Srila Prabhupada's realizations of his proper vision and bringing it to life, on the screen for all living entities to benefit. And I especially like the joke that's coming in there.
Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.
And yeah, Chandan, yeah, go on.
Sorry, if you want to go on, I had a different question. So
Yeah, there's this other point. There's this other really awesome verse is describing the Lord's lotus feet. I really wanted to speak on the previous verse, but I feel very, if Prabhupada didn't write a purport, how can I speak on it? Like just exclusively on that, But speaks about Padam Bhuje Varada Bhavato Bhakti Navam Prayacha. The lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are considered to be a boat which will take us across the ocean of material suffering, devotion to the lotus feet, the Supreme Personality of God. So we are floundering and suffering in this material world, in this ocean we've been throwing up here and there, and throwing around here and there by the whirlwinds of lust and all these terrible things. But the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of God are the boat which will take us, away from this material world. Anyway, yes, Prabhu Chanda.
I saw Mukunda Datta Prabhu. I don't know, whether we're able to do that. Prabhupada didn't have a commentary on it, but then one of the acharyas had a commentary. He was referencing that and then giving a class on that in one of the Srimad Bhagavatam classes, I think.
Amazing.
So I don't know if that's like something you can do if you want to look at and then just talk about. But
Yeah.
I kind of had a thought, and I guess I mean it's a question, but so the super soul within the heart, he's he's traveling with the jiva on this in this material world, but when the jiva returns back home, back to Godhead, the super soul doesn't go with the jiva because well, Krishna is present there.
Yeah.
So whereas because the spiritual master is a manifestation, we say it's an external manifestation of the of the super soul within the heart. So how then
What
how
about
does
the
that
relationship with the spiritual
how does
master?
that kind of
So Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about this in Jaiva Dharma, that there's one spiritual master and he has two disciples who have attained perfection. One of the disciples looks at him as a representative of Dalita Saki. Another of one of his disciples looked at him as a representative of Subha, right? And he's instructing both of them accordingly, like that, according to their relationship with Krishna. So what happens to a relationship with the spiritual master? Well, I can share a Prabhupada memory with you, and I can share the philosophy of it also with you. So there's one. So when Srila Prabhupada was actually sick in manifesting the pastimes of being sick in New Jersey, that time Brahmananda Prabhu and a couple of the of other early disciples Srila Prabhupada were around Srila Prabhupada. They were massaging him and they asked him, Swamiji, when you go back home, back to when like when we go to the spiritual world, will we still be with you? Srila Prabhupada said, yes, you will still be with me. And you and I, you'll be serving me in the spiritual world and we'll be serving Krishna. And he says all the Vaikuntha Vasis will be flying on their airplanes and they'll say, just see how nicely the disciples are serving the spiritual master. That's one thing. But the other thing also is that the spiritual master, so like depending upon our rasa, that may, let's just say someone is aspiring to be a manjari, right? So the spiritual master is always there in the spiritual world. And whether or not, we are exactly in the same, I don't want to get like, super esoteric about this, but whether or not you're in the same group, right? Like the Manjaris, they have their group, the Gopas, they have their group. And amongst the Manjaris also, there's like this different divisions and stuff like that. All these are there. But the spiritual master will be there to guide us to that group. Like let's just say the spiritual master is eternally a manjari, or like the spiritual master is eternally a cowherd boy, but then this person is, he's attained perfection as a manjari. Then the spiritual master will introduce us to that person who would guide us more in the specifics of that service. So he's always there like that. But then where you go on to take further instructions from in the spiritual world, that's something we'll find out when we go to the spiritual world. But we always pray that we'll be servants of our spiritual master and we are always under his guidance. And we can never imagine not serving under him. Like as far like as a disciple, that's a natural feeling that we don't want to ever not serve under a spiritual master. We always want to be with the spiritual master. And how all these, and Prabhupada is always there in the spiritual world, right? In Gokul Chandra Prabhu's seminar, you're speaking about how like different parts of the lotus, one of them is where our acharya, this lotus is where this acharya resides, and this lotus is where Srila Prabhupada resides, and all the faithful followers of Srila Prabhupada go to this part of the lotus. Do you remember in Goloka seminar?
I haven't got that.
Oh, yeah, so he speaks about that also. So long story, like the long thing short, yes, we will always have a relationship with our spiritual master, and we hope that he will let us be with him like that. And Jai Shri Prabhupada, Bhakti Vikas Maharaj writes, where is Srila Prabhupada now? Do you remember reading that section? Where is Srila Prabhupada now? Where are you, Srila Prabhupada? Are you frolicking in the forest of Vrindavan with Krishna? Are you frolicking, or where are you on one of your mercy wanderings? Where are you now? So Prabhupada could be both in the spiritual world and he's being on his mercy wanderings. It's very inconceivable, the position of the spiritual master. But one thing, we can see that Prabhupada has, it seems like Prabhupada has made it clear that he's a cowherd boy in the Priyanar Masaka. That's like, if you read the Krishna Tava Punya Habibain, but Guru Maharaj also speaks about it. And we see that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is Nainamani Manjari in the spiritual world, right? But although Srila Prabhupada is a cowherd boy, and then Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur is Nainamani Manjari, can we, so like, what's their relationship in the spiritual world? Obviously has to be something very intimate. Otherwise, how can that same intimate relationship exist like this in the spirit, in the material world, right? So that relationship is there. How it's manifests, that's like, we'll go there and we'll find out. Does that make sense? Like, from
Sure. Yeah.
both these personalities. So,
Okay, we should probably end.
okay, Jai,
Right.
Prabhu.
Done.
So tomorrow, same time, we'll have class?
Same time.
Okay, great. All right.
Shanti can give the next.
Shanti, baby.
Are you
Same.
able to do that? I don't know with your travel schedule, prepare. and all that.
Yeah. We'll be there. We'll have a class. It has to be at 8:30, right?
Is he able to like give the class? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. He's going to be drinking fruit juice in the morning.
We'll start at 8:30. We'll start at 8:30 and finish at your 9:30, basically.
Okay.
Same Krishna Life time, same Krishna Life channel.
Oro, okay. Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.